Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. I am yours truly, and today we're going to talk about some ACC rumors and what's going on with the realignment to see if the ACC is going to be the next conference to make a move, or are they going to stay put. We're going to dive into the three teams that has been heavily linked and heavily rumored to be going to the ACC. Those teams are Cal, Stanford, and SMU. The video is probably going to be broken down to two different parts. I'm not going to talk about all three teams all at once because there's different scenarios for each of the teams. So enough of that. Before I get into it, if you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button and hit the thumbs up button. I would greatly appreciate that, and it'll also help support the channel and the content. Even for a channel this size, it will go a long way. Any kind of likes, subscriptions, and all that will go a long way to helping the channel. So thank you if you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And I also want to thank the fans and the subscribers for continuing to show support and show love for the channel. So anyways, enough of that. Let's get into these teams for the AC, or rumored to be going to the ACC. The first option for Cal and Stanford, and probably the most not the most likely, but the most favorable option for them, is to be added to the ACC. I think this is like a 50-50 chance. The biggest pro is if you add Cal and Stanford, you're going to add two highly prestigious academic institutions for the ACC. And especially with Stanford, they pride themselves on Olympic athletics. And actually, Stanford spends the most money in athletics, not like somebody like... I'm not getting it confused. Texas spends the most money in football, but athletics in general, like swimming, lacrosse, blah, 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 that goes to Stanford. They really do pride themselves on their athletics, they do pride themselves on their athletics, but they also pride themselves on the academics. They're considered like the Ivy League school of the West. Now, the biggest con to it is, the travel. If they get added to the ACC, they would be the only two schools. And lately, Stanford has come out and said that they're basically willing to play for free in the ACC as long as they're a part of the ACC for the first 4 or 5 years. The reason is that, well, like I said, they spend a ton of money in athletics, and they have a pot of money they're sitting on that they could basically pay themselves. And also, if they get added, they wouldn't have to pay out no buyout fees from the Pac-12, as the Pac-12 is a dinosaur right now. We'll get into the Pac-12 here in a second. But they did a poll on this last week among the ACC presidents, and it was a 15-vote panel, including Notre Dame, because Notre Dame gets a seat at the table for some reason, even though they're not willing to join the ACC. I think Notre Dame is pretty much a closet member of the ACC. Secretly, they are an ACC member, but out in public, they act like they're a independent. We won't bow down to anybody, but secretly they're an ACC member. That's why I call Notre Dame a closet ACC member. They get a vote at the table. They've been pushing hard to add Stanford and Stanford and Cal. The reason is, it's speculated. The reason is that Notre Dame loves to recruit out of California, and well, they don't have a very favorable reputation with the Big Ten, and that's where USC is going. So part of the contract that Notre Dame signed when they were added to the ACC in basketball is that they had to play five ACC schools a year, and if you add Stanford to Cal, you fulfill that contract need and be able to play in California and be able to recruit out of California. I don't think that's the reason, but it's widely rumored that the four schools that rejected Cal and Stanford were Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, and NC State. Now I've heard other schools possibly said no. I don't know. They don't release the poll numbers because it's a private conference, so it's just purely speculation on who voted no. But I can imagine Florida State and Clemson saying no, even though it would probably help them out as far as them complaining about the payouts. Because if Stanford and Cal is willing to play for, Cal hasn't officially said they're willing to play for free, but I think Cal is in the position of letting Stanford do the talking for them. I think they're willing to play for free too, so you could use that extra money that you get from ESPN, because ESPN wants to get in that 10:30 window too, and now the top four brands in the West Coast are exclusively on Fox. They gotta get creative with ESPN headquarters. So I think they could use that money to distribute it, especially to Florida State and Clemson, make them happy. I don't know, but that's the most, most likely option or most favorable option for Cal and Stanford. That's not the only option for Cal and Stanford, though. The next option for Cal and Stanford is to wait and hope for the Big Ten to, maybe give them maybe drop them an invite. I think this is about this happening. I think this is about a 20% chance of that happening. It could happen. If the Big Ten decides they want to add more teams, but I have a feeling that I think they're closed the doors and they've not necessarily stopped expanding, but I think they're done for now. Because from what I've read is that they basically had to beg Fox to give them more money to be able to add Oregon and Washington. I don't think they're going to be able to have that same pool when it comes to Stanford and Cal. Stanford probably has a better chance to make the Big Ten, like I said, due to the academics and all of that, than Cal. If it was just one or the other, I think Stanford has maybe a 30% chance versus Cal being a 10% chance, because I could see the Big Ten wanting a Stanford Notre Dame, pair those two up and to join the Big Ten, but Notre Dame, I can tell you, doesn't want to be a part of the Big Ten. They've been contacted about the Big Ten before, recently, and the Big Ten wanted them to join the conference, and Notre Dame said no. So, without Notre Dame, I don't think they're going to add Stanford for that reason. For these two to be added together, it's about like a 20% chance. Now the scale that I've used is based out of 100%. It's based. You just imagine one big pie. I think their first option is obviously trying to get to the ACC, because the ACC is most likely open to expansion. Stanford and Cal have already said no to the Big 12, so they closed that door with the Big 12, and I think the Big 12 is also not looking to expand either, because they've also not officially announced, but like it's been widely speculated that they've stopped expansion talks with Gonzaga and UConn, because the Big 12 is not only looking at football, but their commissioner is a big advocate or a big believer in college basketball and wanting to become a powerhouse in college basketball. He comes from the Brooklyn Nets. I'm getting off topic by that. Anyways, I think Stanford and Cal is about a 20% chance they go to the Big Ten. Now, that's sitting here right now. Them sitting in the Pac-12 waiting on an invite. The third option for Cal and Stanford is to just go independent. Now, they could go independent based off of how much funding they get. Would they like to go independent? No. They would like to be a part of a conference, because unlike Notre Dame, Cal and Stanford are not backed by a big entity like the Catholic Church, like Notre Dame is. The downside of being independent is you basically going to have to make your own schedule for next year, and you're going to have to negotiate a TV deal on your own. That's the thing. Even Notre Dame, they have a deal with NBC to broadcast all their home games, but their road games, Notre Dame is typically on ESPN. They basically default to the ACC deal when they have to go on the road. They typically on ESPN there. The only time Notre Dame's on Fox is like if it's a Pac-12 game or a Big Ten game on the road. Usually that's when they. But other than that, anyways, I think Cal and Stanford, I give them about a 20% chance that they'll go independent next year. The last option for Cal and Stanford is to just join the Mountain West or the American. Those odds, I think there's going to be about a 10% chance that happens, or just a straight up merger between either the Mountain West or the American. From what I've heard recently is that there's been 4 schools. It's purely speculating, but there's 4 schools that have said that they would defect to the Pac-4, Pac-12, whatever you want to call it. Those schools I've heard by name are Tulane, South Florida, Rice, and there's one other school, not SMU. I can't think of the 4th one, but anyways, there's only like 1 or 2 people talking about it. So I would take that with a grain of salt. I don't think Cal and Stanford wouldn't fit culturally with the Mountain West, because Mountain West, I wouldn't say they're a bad conference when it comes to academics, but when you have a prestigious school like a Stanford and a Cal, they kind of have a snobby attitude to lesser schools. I'm not disrespecting them at all. It's just the vibe I get from Stanford and Cal. It's just a snobby attitude where, you're not as smart as us, and we don't deserve you. That kind of attitude. So I also don't think. Another option they put up here was the Mountain West merging with the Pac-12, Pac-4, Pac whatever. I don't think Cal and Stanford is sitting around waiting for that. I don't think Cal and Stanford wants to be a part of a watered-down Pac-12 conference. I think they're ready to either go independent or join another conference because they're fed up with how the Pac-12 is led. And the reason and people will notice, well, why didn't you include Oregon State and Washington State in this video? They're part of the Pac-12. Well, unlike Cal and Stanford, Oregon State and Washington State don't have as much brand recognition. They don't have as much money. They don't have as much leverage when it comes to the conference realignment game. In fact, Oregon State just renovated their stadium, which is unfortunate for them. They renovated their stadium at the wrong time, so they incurred a lot of debt. And Oregon State doesn't have the option or as much liberty as far as being able to play for free in the ACC. They're not going to be able to afford that, and basically because they have to pay back their debts that they incurred to build or renovate the stadium. And even though Washington State didn't renovate their stadium, they're in the same boat as Oregon State. So ultimately, I think Oregon State and Washington State, are the biggest losers for college or conference realignment. Because the Big 12 has said no to them. And the Big Ten is damn sure not going to add them at all. They already got a bunch of brands sucking off the money that the Big Ten gets, such as a Rutgers, a Maryland. Do you think Rutgers is worth $100 million a year? I think anybody with 2 brain cells would tell you no. Anyways, that's not all the teams that's being discussed going to the ACC. We'll get to the 3rd team here in just a second. The last team I want to talk about is SMU. SMU's been widely speculated to join the ACC, and for SMU, this is a pushed all the poker chips into the pot, and hopefully you win type of deal because there's going to be no other power conference that's going to want you, SMU. If the ACC says no, then you're basically stuck in the American because the next likely conference is the Big 12, and the Big 12 is probably going to say no to you because they would be stupid or Big 12 would be stupid to add SMU because you already got TCU in the Dallas market. Why add SMU? Just only because to make that rivalry game and conference that rivalry game means nothing on a national stage. It really doesn't. It might mean something to the SMU fans and the TCU fans, but as far as a broad national stage, nobody cares about that rivalry. So SMU has done said that they're willing to put up $200 million of their own money just to be a part of the ACC. And in translation, it means that SMU is willing to play for free in the ACC for 5 years as long as they're in the ACC. This was reported last week by a lot of the SMU journalists saying, yeah, this when the story first broke out, a lot of the journalists were like, huh? What are you talking about? That doesn't sound right. Then they checked into it and they were like, that is true. So the SMU boosters are willing to put up $200 million just to be a part of the ACC. They feel like that this is the now or never as far as SMU being part of the Power 4, Power whatever, being a part of that one of those conferences because SMU has no chance at all to be a part of the SEC or the Big Ten. No chance at all. But they feel like the ACC is the best shot they got in being a part of the Power 4 conferences now. And it allows ACC to be a part of getting the Texas market. Now, how big of a brand SMU is up for debate. The only other thing that I could say about SMU is that SMU is a decent football program, not a decent basketball program. Nothing really special, especially after the death penalty that they incurred in the late 80s. It allows the ACC to get in the Texas market. Now, how likely they would add to SMU, I think it all depends on if Notre Dame joins. If Notre Dame joins as a full member, then they would add SMU to round out the amount of members in the conference to 18 football members. Let me emphasize this, football members. Because if they add all three, it'd be 17. Because Notre Dame is considered independent in football. So, anyways, that's going to wrap up for SMU. So, that's going to wrap up the video. In my initial opinion, when I heard this story, I thought the ACC shouldn't do it because, the travel costs and the overall snobbiness from Cal and Stanford, the administration, that type of deal. But as this story has aged a little bit, I've changed my opinion on it, and I think for the ACC as a conference, I think they should add them because it kind of kicks the can down the road and it gives them stability. Because if the ACC doesn't do anything and doesn't expand, they're gonna go away like the dinosaurs, or in this case, go away like the Pac-12 is going to, because the Pac-12 ultimately didn't decide to, or decided to not expand, and it ended up biting them and causing pretty much the death of their conference. But is ultimately what started the downfall of the Pac-12 is their decision not to expand. That's the kind of the predicament that the ACC is going to be in. Is if they don't expand, then they're likely the next conference to get picked apart when the next round of expansion or conference realignment comes around. here in the next few years. So, and as far as Florida State and Clemson, their situation, the with them adding Stanford and Cal, and them pretty much saying they're willing to play for free for the first 4 or 5 years, it probably will pacify Florida State and Clemson a little bit, but they still not happy. Then they can carry their asses to the Big 12, or not the Big 12, the SEC or the Big 10 if they want to. I think this is a move for the ACC they have to make if they want to keep their conference stable, because if they don't, then if Clemson and Florida State leave, then next round would be like North Carolina, NC State, or North Carolina Duke. It's just, there's all kinds of realignment scenarios that could go down to be as far as the conference getting picked apart in that way, like the Pac-12 became or came down to. Anyways, if you enjoyed the content, please give the channel a subscribe, a thumbs up, whatever. I try to make content like this all year round, focused on college football and college sports in general. I just like talking about college football as mainly a passion of mine. So, it's easy to talk about things that you like watching or like seeing. So your support and all that goes a long way into helping me keep motivating myself to keep producing more content, because I know if the more support I have out there, the more drive and more motivation it gives me to make more content, because I know all you guys will support the content, and I thank everybody that comes by and supports the content with each and every video. Your level of appreciation goes a long way. I would like to do is launch a Discord server by the kickoff of college football season. Let me know in the comments down below if you're interested in becoming or being a part of the Discord server. With enough interest, I'll open up a Discord server and we could all talk about college football, the Heisman race, playoff predictions, playoff odds, and we might even do a pick'em contest. Who knows? Now I might do a playoff prediction, or not? I guess you call a playoff prediction to 4 teams that you think is going to make it. I might do that here soon. Until then, I will see y'all next time.